The Bible does not mention anything about disembodied spirits haunting people. It teaches us clearly that when a person dies, their spirit then goes to one of two places, heaven or hell. So, what then is the cause of paranormal activity? Because the truth is, there are people who have genuinely experienced paranormal activity. There are some people that have seen real figures appear and disappear right before their very eyes. There are documented cases of people hearing strange and unexplainable noises in their homes and the sky. What then of people who have seen their furniture moving around, and there is no one there moving it? Objects in a house inexplicably moving on their own, such as doors slamming shut without any visible cause or kitchen utensils being rearranged. Sudden drops in temperature in a room, coupled with the feeling of an unseen presence, often reported as a chilling sensation. Electronic devices turning on and off by themselves, including televisions, radios, and lights, sometimes cycling through channels or flickering without human interaction. Unexplained shadows or dark figures seen out of the corner of the eye, disappearing when looked at directly. Reflections in mirrors that don't match the actual objects or people present in the room, or seeing shadowy figures in reflections. Unfortunately for some people, this is their reality. There are people who are in their own house and are scared to live in their own house because of evil spirits. There is only one way to deal with demon spirits. You go to Jesus Christ, read about Jesus, sing songs about Jesus. The devil and demon spirits are not afraid of you or your last name, or your bank account. They are afraid of Jesus. Travel with me, if you will, 2,000 years into the past, to a time and place steeped in the mists of biblical history, the Gadarenes. Here we encounter a figure most extraordinary, a man who dwelled among the tombs, a wanderer in the realm of the dead. He was possessed with a legion of devils. At that time, a legion was between 3,000 to 6,000 men, so this man had up to 6,000 devils. Put that into perspective, 6,000 devils. He was a man who screamed at night and cut himself. Consider this, 6,000 devils. The very thought boggles the mind. This man was not just troubled, he was the epicenter of a living, breathing hell. A situation can't get any worse than that. 6,000 devils inside him. This man was the dictionary definition of hopeless. Who among us, given a choice, would choose to dwell amidst the tombs? Yet, this was his abode, a constant reminder of the thin veil between life and death, between sanity and madness. The Bible never told us what the man did or what sin he had committed that warranted him to host 6,000 demons. This is to show how brutal and merciless demon spirits are. They do not pity their hosts.
Luke chapter 8, verses 26 to 39. And they arrived at the country of the Gadarenes, which is over against Galilee. And when he went forth to land, there met him out of the city a certain man, which had devils long time, and wore no clothes, neither abode in any house but in the tombs. When he saw Jesus, he cried out, and fell down before him, and with a loud voice said, What have I to do with thee, Jesus, thou Son of God Most High? I beseech thee, torment me not. For he had commanded the unclean spirit to come out of the man, for oftentimes it had caught him, and he was kept bound with chains and in fetters, and he brake the bands, and was driven of the devil into the wilderness. And Jesus asked him, saying, What is thy name? And he said, Legion, because many devils were entered into him. And they besought him that he would not command them to go out into the deep. And there was there an herd of many swine feeding on the mountain. And they besought him that he would suffer them to enter into them. And he suffered them. Then went the devils out of the man, and entered into the swine. And the herd ran violently down a steep place into the lake, and were choked. When they that fed them saw what was done, they fled, and went and told it in the city and in the country. Then they went out to see what was done, and came to Jesus, and found the man, out of whom the devils were departed, sitting at the feet of Jesus, clothed, and in his right mind, and they were afraid. They also, which saw it, told them by what means he that was possessed of the devils was healed. Then the whole multitude of the country of the Gadarenes round about besought him to depart from them, for they were taken with great fear, and he went up into the ship and returned back again. Now the man out of whom the devils were departed besought him that he might be with him, but Jesus sent him away, saying, Return to thine own house, and show how great things God hath done unto thee. And he went his way, and published throughout the whole city how great things Jesus had done unto him. Look at the situation this man found himself in. This whole story can be summed up in one verse. John 10:10. The thief cometh not, but for to steal, and to kill, and to destroy. I am come that they might have life, and that they might have it more abundantly. This narrative illustrates the profound impact the devil can have on a person's life. According to the Bible, this man was beyond human control, untamable by any. It tells of his being bound in chains, only for him to break free with unnatural strength. This individual was enduring a living hell on earth, devoid of hope. His behavior was wild and uncontrollable. Living without clothes, his existence was less than human, more akin to that of a wild beast. He was a figure of torment and self-destruction, marked by his cries and the act of cutting himself with stones. Considering he was possessed by not just one but 6,000 devils, such extreme behavior seems almost expected. The Bible clearly acknowledges the existence of demons, affirming their reality. Yet it seems we are part of a generation of Christians who turn a blind eye to this truth. In our contemporary world, especially within certain Christian circles, there seems to be a marked tendency to overlook or even outright dismiss the reality of demons as stated in the Bible. This oversight represents not just a theological blind spot, but also a spiritual vulnerability. For if we are to take the teachings of the Bible seriously, we must acknowledge that demons, as agents of spiritual adversity, are very much a part of our world, including this very year. The Bible, across both Old and New Testaments, speaks candidly about the presence and influence of demonic forces. From the serpent in Genesis to the casting out of demons by Jesus in the Gospels, these narratives are not myths and legends, but they are truth about the world you and I live in. These stories were not included in the sacred texts to be selectively ignored, but to provide guidance and awareness of the spiritual battles that believers might face. In modern times, the concept of demons is often relegated to the realm of superstition or primitive belief. Our scientifically driven culture tends to view such notions as relics of a less enlightened age. However, this dismissal can be short-sighted. Moreover, the neglect of the reality of demons can lead to a complacent attitude towards spiritual discipline. The New Testament, in particular, warns believers to be vigilant and to arm themselves with spiritual armor. We see this in Ephesians 6:10-18. The Bible does not portray demons merely as external forces of mischief, but as entities that can influence individuals and societies, leading them away from God's path. By acknowledging their existence, Christians can better comprehend the complexities of sin, temptation, and moral decay in both personal and societal contexts. In Matthew 12:43-45, Jesus said, "If a demon is cast out of a man, he goes about looking for a place of rest, and if he finds none, he will return to where he was cast out. If eventually he finds it empty, he will return and look for 7 more wicked spirits to join him, and they will inhabit the person, so that the end of the person will be worse than the beginning." If one demon can make life so miserable for a man, and 7 more demons will make his end more miserable and bitter, then how miserable will 6,000 demons make a man's life? This is to show the extent of the mercilessness of demons. So, you can imagine what the fate of the man of Gadara was. John 10:10 states, "The thief cometh not, but for to steal, and to kill, and to destroy." But when Jesus, the Son of the living God, came, hope came for this man. When Jesus, the Son of the living God, came, salvation came for this man. When Jesus came, restoration came for this man. We do not know how long the man had been possessed before he had an encounter with Jesus. All we know is that an encounter with Christ made the difference. The stories of people can never be the same when they have an encounter with Jesus. All you need for your life to change is an encounter with the Lord. It's not about you, it's about Him. It's not about your situation, it's about Him. It does not matter how dark the situation is. It does not matter how deep the hole is. It does not matter how long you have been stuck in a situation. It does not matter how many demons are involved. It does not matter how hopeless the situation is. Jesus Christ can save you. You can't meet Jesus and not be transformed. The demons that were in possession of the man of Gadara ensured that all attempts by people to tame him became useless. We see that people tried to put chains on him. We can be sure that he did not start out this way. At one time, this man lived among others in the villages, but his own irrational, wild behavior convinced the villagers that he was demon-possessed, or at least insane. They bound him with chains to keep him from hurting others, but he broke the chains time and again. Finally, they drove him out of town, and he lived in the village cemetery, a madman among the tombs, hurting the only person he could, himself. People's help can only do so much for you. People's help can only go so far. Who you need in your life is Jesus. My word for you from heaven today is, go to Jesus. When all hope is lost, go to Jesus. If you need salvation, go to Jesus. If you need deliverance, go to Jesus. Has the gates of hell unleashed a fury over your family? Go to Jesus. Do you fear a gathering storm coming against you? Go to Jesus. Has the enemy kicked the door down in your life and tried to kill, steal, and destroy you? Go to Jesus. Are you in the day of trouble? Go to Jesus. The Word of God says, "Call upon me in the day of trouble. I will deliver you, and you shall glorify me." Are you looking for the friend that sticks closer than a brother? Go to Jesus. He will never leave you, nor forsake you. The moment Jesus steps into any situation, light appears and burdens are lifted. Until the man of Gadara saw Jesus, his life was pitiable and full of misery. His life would never have changed for the better were it not that he had seen Jesus. Have you seen Jesus? Job 42:5 says, "I have heard of thee by the hearing of the ear, but now mine eye seeth thee." It was the moment Job saw the Lord that his story changed, and it was the moment the man of Gadara saw Jesus that his life changed too. When he saw Jesus, he saw salvation. When he saw Jesus, he saw hope. And when he saw Jesus, he saw transformation. His identity was restored. In Luke 19, Zacchaeus wanted to see Jesus, but he was a short man. He had to run ahead of the crowd and climb up to a sycamore tree in order to see him. But over 2,000 years ago, Jesus Christ had been lifted up on the cross of Calvary so that all may see him. I dare to ask again, have you seen Jesus? John 3:14-15 says, "And as Moses lifted up the serpent in the wilderness, even so must the Son of Man be lifted up, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have eternal life." For the life of anyone to be transformed, he or she needs to see Jesus first. Seeing Jesus is a prerequisite for transformation, deliverance, and salvation. If you have not seen Jesus like the man of Gadara, then you need to look and live. You need to believe in him first. We shall see what happened to the man of Gadara the moment he saw Jesus. You cannot see Jesus and remain the same. You cannot have any encounter with Jesus and not have a story to tell. In fact, the evidence will be written all over you. Anyone who sees the man of Gadara after he saw Jesus will definitely know that he had seen something, even without speaking a word. You don't need to go about trying to convince people about your encounter with God. Real encounters leave visible signs on the one who had the encounter. The deliverance of the man of Gadara was very dramatic. Mark 5:13 says, "And forthwith Jesus gave them leave, and the unclean spirits went out and entered into the swine, and the herd ran violently down a steep place into the sea. They were about 2,000, and were choked in the sea." Now we could see that the 6,000 demons that a man was carrying were cast into about 2,000 swine, and they all ran violently into the sea and perished. What a man bore for years, 2,000 pigs could not bear for a minute. Affliction is not something palatable. Jesus wants you to come to him, just as the man also came. Whosoever will, let him come. Come as you are. One very certain thing about Christ is that he will not thrust you out if you come to him. The madman came to Jesus with 6,000 demons, but he left as a free man. He came with great burdens, but he left lightened. When the people of the city saw Jesus and the man that was possessed with 6,000 demons, sitting and clothed, and in his right mind, they were all afraid. It is amazing how Christ can transform the life of anyone in a day. As terrible as the man of Gadara was, he was delivered, healed, and commissioned the same day. Although he wanted to follow Jesus from that spot, Jesus would not allow him because he had a ministry to preach the gospel. Mark 5:19-20 records the glorious departure of the one who used to be possessed with 6,000 demons from Jesus. It reads, "Howbeit, Jesus suffered him not, but saith unto him, Go home to thy friends, and tell them how great things the Lord hath done for thee, and hath had compassion on thee. And he departed, and began to publish in Decapolis how great things the Lord had done for him. And all men did marvel." Whoever knew that the man could be relevant in God's divine agenda? People saw a madman who was violent and hard to be tamed, but Jesus saw an evangelist. The man was commissioned with the gospel message, and he preached the gospel in Decapolis, a region that contained 10 cities. 6,000 demons could not stop the will of God for this man.